Hi, Carl here for ProAV TV, and today we're taking a look at these nifty little camcorders from Canon. This is the XA11 and the XA15. The only difference between the two being simply the SDI port on the front. The 15 has it and the 11 doesn't have it. So these are the small little camcorder successors, if you like, to their very popular XA10. They were released at the beginning of the year alongside the XF405, which I've covered several times on this channel, and that sort of overshadowed these a little bit, particularly for me. I was focused quite heavily on that camera with its nice big 1-inch sensor. But these are actually really worthy little successors to the XA10. They've changed an awful lot here and made it definitely better. So I thought I'd do a quick video here running through the main differences between this and the previous XA10. Perhaps the most obvious difference with these new cameras is the lens on the front. The XA10 had a 10 times zoom lens, whereas here we get 20 times, so double the zoom range of the previous generation. Now that's a really healthy zoom for a camera this size. In super 35mm equivalents, that is about 26.8 to 575mm, which is a really healthy zoom range indeed. It does ramp a little bit. It goes from f1.8 to f2.8, but if you keep it at f2.8 and set it manually to that, you're going to have no ramping at all as you zoom in and out, which is great to have. They've changed a couple of other things as well. They've changed the minimum focal distance, so it now goes down to 10mm. So you can have a subject a centimetre away from the front of the lens and it will still be able to focus on it, which is just crazy. I don't see why you would ever even need to do that, but just in case you do, it can do it. That's only at the wide angle of the lens. Normally, when you're zoomed in a little bit, it would be 6 centimetres away, so 60mm. They've also changed the aperture. So the XA10 used to be able to close down to f8. This can now go to f16, which is going to make a huge difference if you're outside in bright light, maybe in the desert, somewhere like that, or the beach, where it's really bright, really sunny. You're going to want for your big wide shots to stop the camera right down, stop that lens right down, and that is going to make a huge difference to your shot. I think I'm really impressed by how much of a zoom range Canon have packed into this tiny little camcorder. You sort of expect it on the maybe a little bit bigger ones like the XF405 and even bigger than that, but on something this small, really quite impressive. Canon have used the new Digic D4 processor here, which enables a little bit of a boost in processing speed, which enables things like better low light performance, but also some bumping codecs and data rates. You now get MP4 as an option alongside the AVC HD of the previous cameras, and MP4 is great. It's a really nice, convenient option, particularly for people who are fairly new to dealing with video files. The extra data rates come in this MP4 mode, and at 24 frames a second or 25 frames a second, you're going to do 24 megabits a second in terms of data. And then at 50p, because you can now do 50p with this, you can do up to 35 megabits a second. So it's really nice that they've enabled a bit of 50p for high frame rate recording, for either slow motion or because that's what you want your deliverable to be. You are still limited to 1080p though. They haven't quite put in enough processing power for that. The XF405 can do 4K, and I guess that's part of the trade-off between this being a much more affordable camera than that one. But there's still plenty of market for decent 1080p cameras around, and particularly in the types of work that this is really well suited for, nearly everyone is still shooting in 1080p. And so I don't think that's going to hinder the camera too much right now. Whether or not that will still be the case in maybe 4 years' time, who knows, because these cameras do tend to have a very long life cycle. But right now, I'm not too bothered about the lack of 4K, and I think the extra processing power that they've put into here has enabled some really clever things. So one thing Canon have unfortunately taken away is the inbuilt storage. The XA10 used to have 64 gigabytes worth of inbuilt memory storage, as well as the 2 SD card slots. Here we just have those 2 SD card slots. Is this a problem? I'm not sure. I mean, having inbuilt storage is fantastic. It means that if you get caught without any media, you're going to be okay. But most cameras really have only those 2 card slots. There is 2, so it's not like there's only one single card slot. I don't think it's that much of a problem, but that was a really nice thing on the XA10, which unfortunately hasn't carried across. One thing I really do like though is the new touchscreen. It is smaller and not quite as high quality as the one on the XA405, but it still feels just as responsive and nice to use as that one. And it's used for controlling the menus and the autofocus system. It's not the Canon's dual pixel autofocus like it is on the XA405 again. This one is just a regular autofocus system like the same on most other competing cameras. But it's very easy to control. It's exactly the same interface camera-wise as Canon's dual pixel autofocus. So if you use those cameras, you're going to be very familiar here. But it's just not quite as quick and as reliable as that autofocus system. It's still very good though. You'll see here with these examples, it is very accurately and not hunting at all when it's moving between these 2 tripods here that I was filming. But it would be quite nice to have Canon's dual pixel autofocus, the same as it would be nice to have 4K, and it would be nice to have a bigger screen, things like that. But that's what the XA405 is. We've got to remember this in position in Canon's lineup, and the XA405 is after all quite a similar camera, just with that bigger sensor, dual pixel autofocus and 4K recording. So this strips those away and keeps it for those people which only need or want 1080p in a really small, easy to use camcorder. So what do you guys think of Canon's XA11 and XA15? Is this enough for you in this day and age, or would you miss things like 4K and the dual pixel autofocus? Do you think there's still a use for this really small video journalist style camcorder? Can you see it fitting into your workflow? Let me know in the comment section down below. Overall, I think it's a fantastic upgrade to the XA10. If you want to buy one of these, of course the links are in the description down below this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.